I tell the story of the man who came to see me 5 years after Ash Wednesday. I'd seen him and his wife and 2 kids early on. And he actually, this is a bushfire, it's a bit different, but the principles are still there. He decided all he could do was rebuild his house. He'd built it himself out of mud bricks, and his neighbour came across and said, I've lost my house too, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to rebuild. And so the neighbour said, well, I'll help you. So these 2 men spent the next 6 months, every minute they weren't earning their living, up on his block rebuilding his house. 6 months he got it to lock up, and they move in. And his neighbour comes across and says, fantastic, I'm so pleased you're in. I'm going to start mine now. So he felt so deeply obliged to this man that he felt obliged now to give the next 6 months to his neighbour. 2 years later, that's 3 years after the fire, he and his wife have divorced, they've sold everything, and he's living in a flat near the Essendon airport, seeing his kids every second weekend. And when he comes to me, he says, I don't understand what happened. I thought I had a good marriage. Now, this is a dramatic example, but it's the example I talk about because that's an irreversible loss, isn't it? But it was an unnecessary loss. Well, you know, marriages do break down, but what he didn't understand was he thought the physical recovery was the priority. I've got to get my family in a house. But taking care of his marriage and his children and his family life was the most important thing, because that can't be redone. The house can be done eventually.